1 point. 2 weeks in a row, 1 point separated the Panthers from victory. A legendary coach once said, there's a fine line between winning and losing. Right now, Pitt is on the wrong side of that line, but not by much. How close are they? And can it be corrected? We discuss that and more on this week's Hail to Pitt podcast.
What was your message about finishing it in these final 30 minutes?
Well, it happened in West Virginia where we knocked off number 2. It happened in South Carolina, and it's happening in Pittsburgh today. Our guys had a lot of guts tonight. We're just going to keep getting better. I mean, that's what it is.
One hell of a game that you will never, ever forget. We shocked the world!
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt. This is the week of October 17th, 2020, and this is the Hail to Pitt podcast. I am Alan Michael Tazinski.
And I'm Vince.
It was a 1-point woof, a roller coaster of a game, too, up in Chestnut Hill. And in 2020, though, getting to ride a roller coaster safely is a rare occasion. But this was not safe, Vince. This roller coaster was dangerous, and it ended with an abrupt crash. Left everyone in a bit of a haze. How do you move on to the U after that? How do you do it? You listen to us, right, Vince? You listen to us, help everybody get through it and move on, because that's all we can do.
We're going to try. I consider myself a roller coaster enthusiast. I've been on Steel Phantom, Phantom's Revenge, ooh, Millennium Force, Magnum XL 200,
Goliath,
you name it. But I haven't been on Goliath. But I'll say this: I felt more sick after this game than I have after any other roller coaster I've ever been on.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I rode Goliath after eating a bunch of cotton candy, popcorn, drinking like 6, 7, 8 Cokes, and I was not as woozy and nauseous after that. You're right, Vince. This game just made you ill with just how at the snap of a finger it was over after what was an emotional, brutal ride that was kind of fun and thrilling, but in the end, ultimately disappointing with the missed extra point by Alex Kessman after he made a 58-yard field goal to bring it to overtime.
Yeah, just sad for it to end that way. A lot of things wrong with the Panthers now. I'm not going to. Effort's certainly not one of them. They play hard, but just disappointing. And there's not any time, Alan, to for the team to just sit there and mope. They got to get ready because there's some big challenges coming up for them.
Big time challenges, and we're going to preview those challenges. We're going to look back at that loss and not talk about the lack of effort, but talk about just what could maybe be tweaked, what happened exactly, and what will happen moving forward in those big time matchups. It's all coming up on today's Hail to Pitt podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for following us on Twitter at H2P Show and interacting with us there. We appreciate you. And of course, if you ever want to email the show, if you have a personal story related to the Pitt Panthers at all, or inside information, and you want to securely send it through an email, hail2pittpodcast at gmail.com. hail2pittpodcast at gmail.com. We appreciate the feedback we get on Reddit and Panther Lair and all the social media gimmicks as well. We are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcast. You can go to prettyeasypodcasts.com right now, just like dozens and dozens of other podcasters like us are doing, and they're getting their own personal producer at a very affordable rate, someone to help you take care of all the production shenanigans while you focus on hosting your show. That's what we're doing. We're focused on talking about Pitt while Pretty Easy Podcasts handles all the editing, handles all the posting of the show. You could get it done too. Go to prettyeasypodcasts.com. Could have used some hand holding and someone to guide the Pitt Panthers through that overtime that maybe would have been inside Alex Kessman's head. The guy is a walking sports psychology case, Vince. It is so rough to watch. I am enamored with just the case study that is Alex Kessman, the kicker for the Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, it's baffling. This kid misses some easier field goals during the game. He makes this extremely long 50-plus yard. How long was it? 58 yards field goal to send the game to overtime, and then just misses an extra point, not even close. So I didn't have the heart to go back and watch that particular play. I don't know if the laces were in or
who cares?
What the issue was.
It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault, this loss. It comes down to, it is not Alex Kessman's fault.
Oh, no.
Like Coach said, Narduzzi said it, he got him there. And so, I don't know. I can't believe still that they even kicked the 58-yarder. Looking back at it, what could have been done? Would have Hail Mary been a better option? I don't know. But they were in overtime against the team they probably should have beaten, definitely could have beaten, and just that 1 point, Boston College comes out on top, and it's not for lack of trying. The effort Kenny Pickett put in this game, crazy heart on the quarterback of the Pitt Panthers, but we need to talk about the defense because Jurkovec, man, he put on a show for some people in this town that were watching him beat up on their Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, a lot of people bragging about how good this kid is now, and he is good, But I'm not going to say that he's, the next big thing all of a sudden based on that performance. But this defense, and we've seen it, several, in just about every game that they've played, they're giving up these big pass plays. That Zay Flowers, he was, running deep on this team, several times during this game and in overtime. And as good as this defense plays, a lot, Alan, they have these moments where they give up these huge passes. And when your offense, isn't able to keep up, that's a big issue.
Yeah, so 162 yards for Zay Flowers, and previewing this game last week on this show, we all circled Hunter Long, and he got his, the tight end, first play out of the gates. I mean, and it was kind of disappointing too. It's like Pitt wasn't even game planning for him at all, and we even said on this show, yeah, this guy's big and can hurt you, and he got 93 yards. But Zay Flowers contributing to this offense the way he did is what put them over, what helped them win this game, what kind of shell-shocked the Pitt defense. A speedster, a guy running NFL-like routes for Jurkovec and dominating the Pitt secondary, maybe they were worried about Hunter Long a lot and over game plan for him, which it didn't really seem like they did too much in terms of execution against him. But Zay Flowers goes out there and kind of completely forgot about, I felt like, by the whole game plan and preparation going into this one. A lot more man coverage of just letting a guy go out there and beat you with great athleticism.
And that's what kind of, I know that they want to play this, quarters coverage and they leave these cornerbacks out on an island. And yeah, they've been good, but you can't expect them to be perfect every single play, Alan. All it takes is, just to beat their man and the receiver is going to be gone. And that's what Zay Flowers did. And it's just crazy to me because you have these great safeties. People are talking about before the season starts how this could be one of the best safety combinations in the entire country. And Paris Ford's got this great speed, and they both have these great ball skills. And they're constantly in man coverage or up around the line of scrimmage, and why not let those guys just sit back and ball hawk a little bit?
Giving them too little to do. They're giving, you have a guy like Paris Ford, and you're limiting what you're allowing him to do on defense by not letting him be a ball hawk, like you're saying, Vince. And what's laughable about this to me is this game was a total, I want to say, almost indictment on this philosophy that Narduzzi, who is a great defensive coordinator, great defensive mind, but when you have a Patrick Jones getting 3 sacks in one game, the team getting after a big-ass quarterback like this 6 times, they sacked him 6 times. They had 13 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, Vince, and yet they still have a receiver go for over $160, score 31 points, and have a great day through the air because you don't put guys out on an island for 60 minutes. It's you're playing with fire and you get burnt 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, if you can't get to the quarterback, he's going to throw it up, and if it's one-on-one coverage, you're leaving yourself vulnerable.
Even if you get to the quarterback, you're still putting yourself out there. They got to the quarterback. What the hell?
They couldn't get to him every play, and that's the thing. You leave these corners out there, and Jason Pinnock's a good corner, but he got burned a couple times, and Coach Narduzzi's saying that maybe he shouldn't have had him play every single snap in that game. So obviously you may be a little tired from running all those go routes, but we've seen this before. That's the disappointing thing about this, is that we've seen this kind of defensive flaws in the Narduzzi system, for years now. I mean, back in 2016, Pitt had this great offense, and the defense couldn't stop anybody. And the narrative was, well, once he gets his players, once he gets his stud cornerbacks in there, that can press guys and run with them, they're not going to continuously get beat, down the sidelines and over the top. Well, here we are in 2020, in the sixth year of Narduzzi's tenure here, and the same things are still happening. And I understand, you lose a Dane Jackson to the NFL. Damari Mathis gets hurt at the beginning of the season, but you got depth, you got still some good guys. At least you should at this point. And asking them to do that kind of coverage the entire game is a tall ask, and not necessarily just that, Alan. It's predictable too. The other team knows exactly what coverage is going to be there, and they know what they're going to have available.
It's unfair, it's reckless, and it gets you into situations where you lose games you should win. 2 weeks in a row, the Pitt defense, not like we've been saying, not for lack of trying. They got after Djokovic. They sacked his ass 6 times. They made him hurt too. Maybe not as much as Kenny Pickett was hurting after this game, but I don't think he enjoyed waking up the next morning except knowing he had the win. But the defense goes out there and, against maybe more potent offenses, they would have given up a lot more. And you can ask a defense like Clemson's to play that kind of game. And against Boston College, yeah, sure. They will probably handle, but they have those recruits. They have those players. Pat Narduzzi isn't getting those kind of players. Shouldn't be expected to get those kind of players. What he should be expected to do is put his players that he actually has in positions to win. On defense, I honestly, 2 weeks in a row, feel like he has not done that. And I'm not one of those people saying we need to fire Narduzzi. And we're going to talk about those people kind of when we go through the Pitternet a little bit later. But watching this defense against Boston College this week, and especially NC State last week, very disappointing and unnecessary, because there's already issues on offense that are causing Pitt issues. They're doing this to themselves, game planning this way, and we're being so stubborn with the game plan on defense. I'm starting to think on offense, it's a lot of it's the game plan, but I don't know how you can run the ball effectively with that offensive line.
Yeah, Alan, I just there's some stuff I just don't understand in terms of the play calling, the blocking scheme, and then the personnel too. Jake Cradle didn't play this game, and Jimmy Morrissey moved the guard, and you had Owen Drexel playing center. And no offense to those guys, but they're not very big as far as lineman standards are.
Now, was this an injury issue, or was this oh crap, we got to change it up because we can't do anything with the run game?
I think this issue. I'm not sure what the issue was here. What's even more disappointing is that Gonclaves, a redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore offensive lineman, Narduzzi said he would be the first guard off the bench. Well, that didn't happen. So, instead of just plugging one guy in, you move 2 guys around, especially at the center position. That's difficult to do, Alan. You could speak to that. And the personnel in year 6, the offensive line personnel that they threw out there, shouldn't be that bad. And, and if they are, you got to run some plays that they can be successful at. Running this, these, stretch plays or off tackle plays out of the shotgun that are slow developing is just not working at all whatsoever. And whenever they do line up, and it looks like they're going to pound it right at you, it's very telegraphed, and the other team is game planned for it.
Yeah, again, the telegraphing on the run plays is I'm starting to think they just don't want to call. They can't call anything else. They don't feel like they have the capable personnel is my only thing I can go to, because what the hell else? Why wouldn't they try a different kind of scheme, different kind of run game plan? Mark Whipple's game plan is really right now dog crap, and if you go on Pitt Internet and read what fans are saying, a lot of people are putting the boots to him. More people put boots than Narduzzi, but I can accept kicking Whipple, because now this is just wasteful. It's wasteful when you have Kenny Pickett, and it's wasteful when you have running backs that I feel are all capable of doing good things. I feel like Abonaconda is going to be a home run hitter. I feel like Vince Davis is a guy you can really rely on. I am surprised this guy, knock on wood, isn't coughing it up or getting injured with how he's getting clobbered, and he's small in the backfield a lot.
Yeah.
And it's wasteful when you have, I think, talented players at skill positions. Now, maybe this is because they just don't trust the offensive line. It's a handicap. Maybe that's what we're learning. But try something new. Call a big meeting and say, we're going to run a trap. We're going to run a quick run. We're going to run a zone. We're going to get our quick, speedy running backs to the hole as fast as possible, instead of, being in the shotgun where we're going to have Kenny Pickett look downfield and pretend like he's throwing and then hand it off to you to get hit 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and what was even more bizarre was on the two plays that Pickett had to come out and Yellen was in, those were the two most successful running plays of the day. They were quick handoffs, and it looked, there was a hole there, and it looked like Davis was just shot out of a cannon. So I don't know what is going on with this running game. Before the season started, coach said that they have to run the ball to be successful, and he's absolutely right. And unfortunately, though, it's just not happening.
Well, they aren't, and they're not. So that's where we're at. We're at 3-2, 2-2 in the conference, and you could kiss ACC championship game appearance goodbye. All we can hope for now is some big wins in rivalry games coming up, and we will preview this Miami game. But real quick, Vince, anything in the Boston College game, the fumbles that were overturned, Kenny Pickett going down, how much did those events contribute to the loss to you?
Well, I think those fumbles, that were overturned, those were important for sure. Now, how the game would have played out, after those, hard to say, but that's points that would have been taken off the board from Boston College, and I'm not quite sure why those were ruled. The runner being down, or the play stopped, or whatever. I'm not sure about that. Didn't look good to me. So that I don't know about you, Alan, but that one was frustrating.
Yeah, those plays. See, those are, even in replay, though. I was sitting there, of course, saying, "Well, it's obviously going in our favor," but you could understand. There's reasonable. It's not like last week where I was just totally, my hands were up and I was just super pissed off about the refereeing. A lot of this, I just felt like that was just fluff within the game to make you mad. But really the thing to get mad about is the self-inflicted wounds, especially by the coaching in this game. And then the unfortunate head case kicker, who we can't blame. That's a rough thing for any young athlete to go through. But damn it, it's an extra point.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in my opinion, I don't even think he should have been put out there for that extra point. I really think Pitt should have gone for 2 and the win in that overtime.
Considering not because he's not good at short field goals, but because of where Kenny Pickett was at that game. Yeah, were you expecting him to play another four overtimes? That would have been crazy.
That's the thing. You got a quarterback that's only on, basically on one leg, and you're making them run to the sideline in between every play to get the play call.
Yeah.
And you got the ball, and it would have been the 3-yard line for a 2-point conversion. Say if Kessman does make that extra point, then you got to throw your offense back out there again and try to score another touchdown. But it kind of goes back to me. Narduzzi has so much confidence in this defense, and there's a lot of times he shouldn't have that much confidence in the defense. And you got because even if Kessman does make that extra point, there's no guarantee that Pitt's gonna be able to score again, especially with a hurt Kenny Pickett. And then it's just one play for Boston College and the game's over. The adrenaline was going. I would have given Pickett a chance to win that ball game right there. And it's sad that wasn't the case, because, with how tough that kid was playing, some of those runs at the end of the game were just unbelievable. I think there was a strong chance he would have got it.
So I say the rest of the season, just let the big man on campus be on his own schedule for practice. If he wants to practice, let him. If he doesn't want to practice all week long, who cares? Let him play in the game. He's Kenny Pickett. He's the BMOC. He's the guy keeping you in every single game. He's the coolest cat in Oakland to me right now. I want to party with Kenny Pickett. Thank you so much for what you're doing for this football team. I want to say that if he's listening, Vince.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
And you know what? Hopefully he's playing against Miami. We will need him. Miami Hurricanes. What can you say about the Canes? Well, they went out and they got mollywopped against Clemson in a game where they were probably crazy hyped for it. And Vince, you were saying you wanted them to lose because you think they fall apart after games like that. Well, here we go. We'll see if that's true. But if Kenny Pickett can't go, that's going to be a big problem for the Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we've had a long look at Joey Yellen or Davis Bevel. I guess one thing we can say is Joey Yellen hands off very well because of how good the running game was when he came in last week.
I want Yellen, but you think it's possible? Do you think Whipple would have it in him to totally change up the game plan and just start throwing a bunch of jet sweeps out there and a lot more wildcat and really go different from what we've seen these first 5 games against Miami if there's no Kenny Pickett?
Well, that's the thing. There is, they have been effective using that wildcat package with Todd Sibley at running back. But you got to think, if you're Manny Diaz in Miami, you're studying extra hard on that wildcat package. Not that they've really shown a lot out of it, but you're definitely going to be prepared for it. Assuming Pickett is limited. And so what you're right, Alan, they're going to have to throw something different at him. Absolutely. And, even if Kenny does play and he's not 100%, I'm very worried about how this offensive line is going to hold up against those pass rushers from Miami. There's a lot of good athletes on that team, and the offensive line, I will say, they're probably better at pass blocking than they are at run blocking, but it does make me nervous.
Yeah, a non-mobile Kenny Pickett in this is going to be tough to win. So you need to have, even if he plays, you're right, gadgets. You need to have a fake punt ready to go. You need a fake field goal play ready to go. You need to hope and pray that you make some turnovers on defense. In addition to all the sacks they're racking up, no turnovers last week, if I recall, Vince. So Pitt needs to really help Kenny Pickett out this week, because even if he plays, or the Pitt offense out, because if Kenny Pickett plays, they're still going to need extra contributions, because I don't see how he could possibly be 100% ready to use his legs and all the tools he has after what he went through the last 2 weeks against a Miami D that could get after him. After all, this defense is full of NFL talent still.
Yeah, they are. They've recruited very well. They've gotten some good transfers. So they're going to be a tough defense to move the ball against. Bottom line, and they're always going to be looking for a big turnover, a big splash play, And you just got to hope that if those plays do happen, that they're not very costly ones. It's going to put even more pressure on this Pitt defense to play well, especially without Kenny Pickett, because there's not much hope that they're going to be able to move the ball effectively with a hurt Kenny Pickett or a Joey Yellen. It's just unproven.
Kenny Pickett, he's hurt, but he does mean business this week. I'm excited for this game because, like you said, Miami's has a huge letdown. Pitt is, seeing Paris Ford on the field, a camera caught him after the game. That guy was so mad, and he rightfully so, and so upset because a lot was lost with that Boston College loss. So now you have a Pitt team with nothing to lose. You have a Miami team that's probably a little shocked because they probably were super confident as players going into last week, even though no one else thought they had a chance. And now you have these different narratives in both locker rooms going into this game. But you do have a quarterback who I think doesn't give a rat's ass about any of that for Miami, Derek King. I think Pitt will contain him, Vince. But that guy, I think, has the confidence to just throw the ball downfield the way other quarterbacks who have been successful against Pitt have. I don't think he's going to go the route Louisville did, where maybe he'll be a little bit timid, standing in the pocket and just letting it sling.
Well, that's the thing about King. He's a dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands, and Pitt's going to have to definitely contain him in the running game. But if you watch some of these games that he's played, particularly last week against Clemson, he's not the most accurate deep ball passer, but he does have an arm to get the ball downfield, and maybe that's all they need if you got a receiver running free like that. So. I think they're going to have to hope, and he is going to get some passes off. Make no mistake about it. And there's going to be some guys that'll probably be running open at some point during the game. But I think we're going to have to hope at times that he's just inaccurate with the football, and make sure he doesn't hurt you in the running game. These are the kind of quarterbacks that Pitt's defense has been successful against, Allen.
You know why? Because these guys present the danger of running, and so Narduzzi doesn't just go all out man, or they're going to play some contain and some keep a guy roaming in the middle of the field. I wish they would approach every quarterback like this, but I kind of expect them to bottle up King and force him to do what he's not great at.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's going to be it's going to be very important to limit the kind of things that he can do, and I think they can. They've proven that kind of stuff. And Miami does have some good playmakers, no doubt about that. But it's going to start with King. He's really the guy that's going to get him going. It's the kind of guy Pitt's been able to stop. So we'll see. But again, without Pickett, without an offense that's going to be able to move the ball against a good Miami defense, you're asking a lot on the Pitt defense to really hold them down all game.
So big task for the Pitt defense, and the Pitt offensive line has a very, very sacred task protecting Kenny Pickett if he plays, and letting him hopefully make some great throws against the Miami defense that I feel like is going to match up well against Pitt's receivers. Kenny Pickett is the guy getting those guys open. They are dropping passes still, Vince. They're having a rough go of it. I don't know who steps up. If you got a beat-up quarterback, you got to step up. Is there a player that you have circled that is potentially going to come out of nowhere and say, enough of this crap, I need to be a part of our success, I need to help us win? Someone needs to take the load off of Kenny?
I guess a couple players I'll talk about. On defense, to me, it's got to be this interior defensive line without Keyshawn Camp in there. The pass rush, while it's been good from the edges, up the middle it's been a struggle. They haven't been as good without Camp in there. Obviously, no Twyman, so you're missing your top two players. And Devin Danielson, I think he's played very well, but he's obviously not the pass rusher of those guys. So So either Green or Bentley or Kalijah Cansey, those guys I think are really going to have to step up and push this pocket. Yeah, Weaver and Jones, they could get to the quarterback, but they're going to need a little bit of time, from the edges. Those guys up the middle have to just bust through there and get King moving around and not give him a chance to set up and uncork one down the field. I think that's going to be very important.
Yeah, the defensive effort has been there and the production's been there, but they need extraordinary production to help what Pitt's been ailing Pitt the last 2 weeks, and that's making up for the offense not being able to run the ball and now maybe a banged-up quarterback. I'm hoping Abanaconda can step up this week, Vince. I feel like there's going to be that moment where he busts out and a lot of Pitt fans get super hyped for him. That is yet to come. Are you surprised we're this far into the season we haven't seen more from him?
I don't know if I'm necessarily surprised. I mean, with the way this offensive line is going, it's hard to really get a good look at any of the running backs to really say. And Narduzzi has zeroed in on Vincent Davis as his guy, and it's reflected in the depth chart, Alan, if you believe that Vincent Davis is not even an OR starter, and Abanaconda is not even an OR backup. He's the main backup, if you believe that. So I guess I'm not surprised. I think his role is going to get increased more and more. Alan, is this a game, with Abanaconda appears to have some big playability? Do you just try, some different ways to get this guy the ball this week? Do you install some plays this week to get him some opportunities?
Yeah, install any kind of different plays. You need gadgets. You need some maybe two running backs out there. Have we seen that at all this year? Have we seen Abanaconda?
Are you suggesting running like a pro formation? Maybe
you got some sidecars out there. You got some guys in motion. Hardly any pre-snap motion throwing off. You see what this? I mean, not to throw it to the Steelers, but they totally switched up. Went a lot of pre-snap motion, threw off the Eagles. You do that against an opponent who hasn't seen that on your game tape. I'm just saying it makes them think. Get Davis out there and have him just running pre-snap motions like you're going to hand him the ball off in a jet, even if you're throwing it. I don't know. Get creative, but it's got to be better than what you've been doing, especially in the run game. And if you need to be a gizmo gimmick offense to get some sort of run game, then you need to swallow your pride and do it. Because if you don't think you could just run straight forward, you got to figure out a way to get that production because it's just not there right now. And man, I'm hoping we see a big 70-yard run and we get to stop talking about this week, Vince. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. I'm tired of talking about all the things that have gone wrong, and I just want to see the game and see if we can correct it and do some things better. I'm tired of just sitting and sulking and with this sour taste in my mouth all week. It's killing me.
I know it's really, really been a rough one. I haven't eaten right. Maybe it's because I got the pre-wedding diet type of thing going on, but I just feel like I haven't had a good meal since this game. But we'll be eating good after Miami, I think. I have a good feeling about at least not being hey, they might not win, but I don't think we're going to have the horrible sinking feeling we've had the last 2 weeks. But maybe that's because all hope has been taken out of our souls. I don't know. That's a lot of what the talk is on the Pitternet, Vince, if you're ready to go out into the imaginary world where everybody types and talks.
Yeah, I've been spending way too much time on that this week, and I don't feel good about it.
Well, when I feel this lousy, I don't want to live in the real world. Let's go to the Pitternet.
Can you explain what internet is?
I hear there's rumors on the internets.
And to all those faceless keyboard warriors on Twitter.
But we're a good darn football team. I'm proud of these guys.
All right. Our first one comes from Rock Hen on Panther Lair, who said, simple question for next year. Is Whipple the OC?
That's a legit question. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen, I would say no. this guy Whipple, I think he's a very good quarterbacks coach. Kenny Pickett has really improved his game since he's been here, and you got to give a lot of that credit to Kenny, and I think you got to give a lot of credit to Whipple too. But this Whipple offense, it just does not appear that there's a ton of creativity. There's not enough creativity specifically when you don't have the personnel. You're not changing things up, and I don't think he's a tremendous play caller either. I think some of his plays have good design, but then sometimes they're not executed properly, and maybe you're not dictating to your personnel. I'm not quite sure, but the bottom line, I don't think we've seen enough, and we'll talk about it at the end of the year. But as of right now, you can't feel great about this offense and the direction it's going.
And also, I mean, shouldn't he be someone that helps recruit quarterbacks? And I mean, is he really doing that? That's another thing to consider.
Well, you talk about it. You bring in Joey Yellen in the transfer market. You got Davis Bevel here. And a lot of people are excited about those two guys. Obviously, haven't seen a whole lot of them yet, and they certainly need some time to develop. But I think he is a good quarterbacks coach, and I would be all for having a coach on the staff whose sole purpose is just coaching the quarterbacks. I think it's always limited how many coaches you could have, but somebody doing that, Alan, I think is very important. And then you bring in, I would love to see a young play caller, a guy that really gets the way this game is played.
Yeah, T-Boy, you want to get yourself a Joe Brady is what you want to go do right now.
That's what I'm talking about. I think we need somebody like that. Now, granted, Whipple's got some chances to change my mind, but right now I'd say the offense is not up to snuff, and I think he's got to take some blame for it.
Rhino Wolf on Panther Lair said, how many years does he have left? Did they just extend him last year so he has like 5 more after this year? If that's the case, he's here until after 2022 at least. Plus, not like they're going to get anyone worth a crap to replace him, even though he's no good. Win 6-8 games, wash, rinse, repeat. Rhino Wolf reserved to a life of mediocrity, Vince.
That's harsh. And this week, Alan, I've defended. I'm curious to hear your response to this. I've defended Narduzzi a lot. And this was a year that we were targeting as a make or break year to really see what this guy can do. And defense is supposed to be his thing, and I know he's amassed a lot of talent here, but a lot of the flaws in the defense that were here 5 years ago are still here right now. And his ability to pick offensive coordinators the past couple years has not been good. And I'm starting to have some doubts. I am. I don't feel great about admitting this, but that's the truth.
Yeah, this game kind of was the first crack in my armor of defense for Narduzzi for sure, because, like you said, make or break year there. You got 2 crushing, horrible, never should have happened losses, and then you have a guy I feel like he's respected, but the way we've seen him talk about Matt Canada, you got to believe he's alienated other people in the coaching circle, and then recruiting wise, Pitt's doing all right. So that's why I definitely am still defending him, and I don't want to see any changes unless there is a great plan and a solid footing to be on. I am never in favor of total regime changes in college abruptly, no matter how many crushing defeats you have in one season. If there isn't something that's just absolutely heinous and you got to fire a guy for you got to prepare behind closed doors for replacing him, which is what smart universities do. And then they go on to win national championships like LSU. Even though people laughed at them when they hired Coach O. They waited when everyone said they should fire Les Miles at one point. And then they fired him when they were damn well ready, even though it was still kind of abrupt. But there was a plan. You got to have a plan. So I'm telling all you Narduzzi, we got to fire Narduzzi people. There better be a damn plan. Otherwise, that's a stupid plan. A stupid plan.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Alan. You don't And we've seen it at Pitt many times. You don't get rid of a coach unless you got somebody ready behind them. That you got your guy ready to go to take his place, and it better be somebody better. Narduzzi, I think he's done a lot of good things for the program, but I think the questions are fair right now. Is he the guy to really take him to the next level to compete for championships every year? It's hard to say at this point. The story's not written yet. We got to see the rest of this.
It's about W's.
Exactly, it's about W's, and we're going to see how many W's they get the rest of the year, and see where we go. But I'm sure Heather Lyke and Chancellor Gallagher are talking about this stuff right now as we speak. I'm sure that they're planning for all kinds of different scenarios.
And don't they have other things to worry about at the university right now than having to replace a coach? Come on.
Oh, man.
At Dalton7474 on Twitter said, when I die, I want the Pitt football team to lower me into my grave so I can be let down one last time. Not original, Vince, but after that game, well said, I'd have to say.
Yeah, that's that sums up a lot of it.
And our last one here comes from our Pitt Panthers on Reddit. In a thread titled Existence is Pain, 13-9 says, I became a fan around the time of C username. Helped me make my college decision. I know what to expect, but it's still a letdown. Only thing I care about for the rest of the season is beating Notre Dame. 2 questions, Vince. Is beating Notre Dame the most important thing left this season? And how many people do you think the 13-9 victory inspired to say yes to go to Pitt?
It supposedly it inspired a lot of players in that class, that next year's recruiting class, to go to Pitt. A lot of local players for sure. As far as regular students, I don't know. That may seem like a stretch, but I don't know. That's a funny question.
All I know is when I saw Jerron Brown lace up those shoes, and when they opened up the Pete, that's my main reason why I said Pitt is it. And that's what that
I will say that the allure of the Peterson Event Center and how good the basketball team was doing at that time was a huge recruiting tool for regular students. That I will say. But as far as the rest of the season,
they won 13-9. Yeah, I'm gonna go there. What are you gonna study? I don't know. They won. They beat WVU. Who cares? I'll study something. I don't know. I'll be a dentist.
But as far as the rest of the year goes, beating Notre Dame is not the only thing that matters. It's a big game for sure, but is it very improbable with 2 losses right now that they could run the table the rest of the way and make the ACC title game? Absolutely, but if this team really has in them what we thought at the beginning of the year, yeah, they could maybe only lose one more, the rest of the year, and maybe not necessarily make the conference title game, but maybe they finish in the top 3 or 4. And if you asked a lot of people at the beginning of the year where Pitt may finish, 3 or 4 probably wouldn't be too bad, and they still have an opportunity to do that. So the biggest game is this next one this Saturday, big noon kickoff against them Canes.
Exactly. I'm with you there. And you know what? Also, Notre Dame's a big game, but I want to beat Clemson. Come on, 13-9. You got to raise the bar a little bit, even after a couple bad losses. Let's go. All right. Let's go actually down the street, around town. A lot of people I'm walking around, they're putting out their political signs, Vince. They're all talking about the big election, or they've already voted. And then it quickly turns into not who you're voting for, but who do you think is going to replace Narduzzi? Or who do you think is going to be the right player for Pitt in the backfield? Or who do you think is to blame for the loss? They're still talking about the Pitt Panthers all around town.
Yeah, and anytime Pitt loses, there's plenty of complaining happening, and they're talking about it this week. No different.
Another Saturday coming, and the Panthers are playing. Time to find out what the answers are saying.
You see that Pitt kicker miss that extra point?
Nah, I turned it off before they tried that 58-yarder net.
He made that one,
Yeah, but I knew he'd let him down in overtime when them kicks got shorter.
Hail to Pitt.
What the answers are saying.
So that's what the Inzers are saying. Just a horrible ending to that Boston College game. Horrible for Alex Kessman, but they don't have much time. They got to regroup. They got to get ready for them Miami boys this Saturday. But Alan, there's still a lot of other stuff going on in college football this week. We got some interesting ACC games, and then one huge game in the South. Maybe the game of the year.
The game of the year. Oh, college football. What are you doing making Steve Sarkisian the guy in charge of the biggest game of the year now? Oh, my goodness. This is quickly going to hell for Alabama. Right before we turn the mics on, Vince, Nick Saban testing positive for that demon virus, COVID-19, and Steve Sarkisian's now in charge of Alabama. Now, what he did, mollywhopping Ole Miss last week, impressive. But this is a different team, Georgia. And this is the game of the year. And what a horrible time for Alabama's legendary coach to have to self-isolate from his team. He was just on ESPN on mute while we're recording, and it looked like he was hopefully asymptomatic. But this sucks for the Tide.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was coaching the practice from his house this morning, I guess, is what I heard. Yeah, that it is a shame. This matchup, I cannot wait to see this one. It's interesting. And Alan, I want to get your take on this since you've covered the SEC more than anybody I know. Georgia was a 6.5 point dog to Alabama on the road just hours ago. And then, ever since the Saban news has come out, this line has dropped down to, 4 points, was what I'm seeing at the Westgate right now. 3 in some areas, 3.5. I've even seen it taken off the board at some shops. Is Nick Saban, not being on the sideline really worth, 3.5, 3 points? Is that accurate, Alan?
I don't see how that is. He is not like this world-renowned game day coach. He is a recruiter and a general coach. This is a guy who always surrounds him with fantastic coordinators that end up getting great jobs. That's what he's all about. So on game day, I think just his presence of scaring his players into playing great defense is what it's all about. But now maybe they'll be motivated in a different way, a way they haven't been in Alabama for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's not calling the plays, right? On either side of the ball. I'm sure he's making some maybe crucial decisions on, whether to go for it on 4th down or field goal attempts or something like that. But, and I'm sure maybe he'll be calling in the Sarkisian during the game or something. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But it's fascinating to see that. And, I liked Georgia in this ball game before this news came out. I think that their defense is just tremendous, Alan. And Alabama, while their offense is great, their defense has been very vulnerable, especially last week against Ole Miss, Alan. And I could see, Stetson Bennett maybe moving the ball on this Alabama team.
I mean, I don't know what to think about Georgia's offense against Alabama's defense. Like last week, I almost feel like maybe Ole Miss knew all of Alabama's defensive calls and were, getting tipped off.
They're talking about that.
How the hell did that happen? I honestly don't know how that happened, and I did not expect it, and I don't feel there's any way in hell Stetson Bennett is going to go out there and light it up that way. They struggled a little bit with Tennessee early in that game, I felt like, more than a lot of people probably thought. Ended up dusting them off pretty easily, I think. But the Alabama offense, that's maybe even if they actually do. I mean, they have Dylan Moses on their defense. I don't feel like a D with him is bad. But if they are a bad defense, I don't think it matters. Mac Jones, Harris, this freaking Waddle, this offense is absurd. It's NFL player after NFL player. And even the Georgia defense in this game, as they are not ready for what this team's capable of, and they're not ready. Nobody is. I don't think anybody. After what I saw last week, and after maybe whatever's going on with Sark, this is a huge moment for him too. This guy is coaching for another head coach. Can you believe from where he fell now, where he could possibly go? Sark in this big spot now. If he on game day is coaching the Alabama Crimson Tide and pulls off a big win, huge implications.
Well, let me ask you this, Alan. Now he can't just focus on the play calling. He's got to focus on, everything else on game day. Is that gonna, maybe he can't focus on the play calling as much, and maybe their offense isn't going to be as potent. I mean, certainly the talent, the players are there, but maybe the play calling is going to suffer a little bit.
I don't think at all. I don't think that happens at all. If what he'll have to worry about is now he's the guy making the call on situational football, and he's probably involved in a lot of that. He probably wants to go for it a lot more than Saban probably does. But really, when in the regular season is Alabama faced with those kind of decisions at all? So
you're right.
In this game, if they come up, I think he'll be fully prepared. The guy has the experience, and he has most importantly, the players. Najee Harris is like, if you just want to hand him the ball off all game, try it. Go ahead. Georgia might have something for him, but if you can't, you're going to have Waddle. All right. You're going to have Smith. You're going to be ready on offense. That defense is the big issue. And I don't know. I don't think Georgia could ever score that many points on Alabama the way Ole Miss did.
Well, maybe not like that.
They don't play that kind of game. They run the ball, and they're going to try to make this a physical game. But if this becomes, a run and gun, I don't think Stetson Bennett's ready for that. I'd be scared if I'm him.
Well, that's
him
the thing. Yeah,
last week had.
It's gonna be a bright stage, and I'm sure that even though it's a reduced crowd in Tuscaloosa of maybe 20,000 that are going to sound like 70,000, probably because there will be 70,000. That's going to be intimidating for this kid. And we'll see under the lights if he could really step up. But the physicality that you talked about, Alan, Georgia's got the advantage in the trenches in this game on both sides, I think. And I think that's their have to be their calling card in order to win this ball game. I really do.
That control clock. We'll see. This is interesting. Alabama. Let's see if Alabama shies away from would they shy away from a physical game? But not really. I think they're just going to probably just try to blow the doors off of Georgia. I think it will happen too. It's an impressive team. Angry Alabama. Sorry, Stetson. Even if your dad, even if Bo's there and Colt and Rooster and the gang, no chance in hell for Georgia. I'm picking Alabama.
All right, I'm still going to stick with the dogs to win this ball game. I know Pam's on the dogs for this ball game.
Of course. Well. Always with Georgia. I've been hearing this for too long. They got all bark, no bite. Let's move on to our opponents that are coming next week. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Real quick, they take on Louisville. Any chance we see the preseason Louisville in this game upset Notre Dame?
No, absolutely not. because and I'll tell you why. The main reason is that the front seven for Louisville is too small and not physical enough to beat this Irish team. If you watch that game last week, Notre Dame is just running the ball at a very impressive clip. They got a tremendous offensive line, maybe the best they've had in a while. Their running backs are running hard, and I think they're just going to run all over this Louisville team. Notre Dame right now favored by 17 at the Westgate. I may lay that number. That's 17. They've looked that impressive.
Definitely don't want Notre Dame losing this game as a Pitt fan. I don't want an angry Notre Dame team that went through a horrible, hellacious week of practice going against the Pitt Panthers. I want them
You're right.
cocky. That's what I want. So on to the Pitt-Miami game now. The U 11.5. Is this for real, Vince? This is the spread.
It's actually gone up a little bit. I've seen 12.5 up to 13 at the Westgate in the win. So people are betting on Miami. At least there's some money coming in on them. And I think the big thing to really look at is for this line is Kenny Pickett healthy or not? If Kenny Pickett's full go, if he plays, I think Pitt's defense could slow down Miami enough, and Pickett, he can make enough plays to make this a close game. But if it's Joey Yellen or Davis Bevel or even Nick Patty, I'm not sure how Pitt's going to be able to score enough points, even with a good defensive performance. Allen, it's just the offense has struggled with Pickett. It's hard to imagine what they'd be like without him.
Yeah, but a line that high against a team that has as good a defense as Pitt, when they play and game plan correctly, which I think they will this week. I know I'm playing with fire saying this, but I'm confident the defense is going to show up this week.
Yeah,
I feel like that's high. Now I'm going to pick Miami to win. I think Miami's going to win 28 to probably, let's say 20. It's going to be about a touchdown or so is what I feel. But 11.5, I think the defense will keep it a lot closer than that. And it all depends. That could be a Pitt. I'm just so scared, like you said, of Kenny Pickett being banged up in this one. There's nowhere to run against the Miami defense for him, maybe even if he's healthy. And banged up and hobbled, damn it. Not a good way to go into this one.
Yeah, I'm predicting a low-scoring game. Even if Kenny Pickett does play, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the total right now 48 and a half. But I'm thinking, I think Pitt's defense is going to have a great game. I think that they may give up a couple big plays. They may be put in some bad field position situations, but I think they're going to hold Miami and King down, quite a bit. But this offense against this Miami defense is it just looks like bad news unless Miami's very disinterested in this game. And I think Pitt's going to lose 17-9.
Well, those are the picks, Vince, but in our hearts, we're hoping for much better and happier times next week. Full disclosure, as we wind down this show, for next week, it could be a different kind of show, but not by much because, well, I'll be a married man, maybe, because we might record right after the game before the tiny-ass wedding I'm going to have, Vince. That's up in the air for all the listeners, so they got to be on their toes.
Yeah, well, even if we do record, after Tuesday, who knows if you'll be a married man? Anything could happen in 2020, Alan. but in all honesty, I hope it goes well for you. Me and Pam are praying that everything works out great. We're so happy for both of you, and I think it's going to be a tremendous day for you, and congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, good buddy, and let's hope for a Pitt win. Let's hope for a badass show we're going to do celebrating that win and looking forward to Notre Dame with hopefully Pam returning to the show. And then, a wedding without a hitch, a hitching without a hitch. And then we'll be back for our regularly scheduled program. And we do have that breather of a bye coming up, too, that I'm kind of looking forward to, especially after these last 2 weeks, Vince.
Yeah, Pitt could probably have used one this week.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to press on. The season rolls on. Somehow, in these unprecedented times, Pitt is kind of having a very precedented and expected season the way it always shakes out. So I guess that's kind of comforting. But you know what?
it's a very Pitt season.
It is. And that's the thing is we're all here for each other. We know how to deal with this kind of not tragedy, but it's the only word I could think of. But, upsetting last couple weeks. It could be a lot worse. Hell, could be Florida State, Vince. At least we're not them. That's on the bright side.
Yeah.
Let's hope they're not like Florida State against the Miami Hurricanes. Big game. Beat the U. Let's get it. Anything left, Vince?
Also, congratulations to the Pitt soccer programs, men's and women's. Talked a little bit about them last week. That both still in the top 10 now. They're doing excellent. Congratulations to those programs. Good luck to the Panthers this weekend against the Canes, and certainly good luck to you, Alan, with your wedding, and hail to Pitt.
Hell yes! Giving us reason to watch the ACC network in the middle of the week. Pitt soccer. And yep, we'll see you for the next show. I might be a married man when we record it. If not, either way, all I want to say to you, our gentle listeners and fellow Fanthers, is to follow us at H2P Show on all social media. Thanks for subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast app, and hail to Pitt.